So, today's video is why 99% of guitar players never really escape the beginner or intermediate level. They hit that plateau, and it's really hard to climb your way out of it. So this video is going to show you some tips on how we can get out of that plateau. This is a really good video to watch if you feel like you've been stuck, you've been playing in sort of the same boxes, using the same chords, repeating the same patterns in your playing, just not really progressing at all, or at least you don't feel like you're progressing or progressing fast enough. I have been teaching for about 15 years. I've been playing for, oh my goodness, almost 25 years. I've helped a lot of guitar players break out of these ruts. So yeah, let's crack forward, and hopefully some of the stuff that I share with you today will help break you out of this rut, at least get your mind thinking about new and exciting ideas, and maybe some new things for you to start researching or practicing, and get you out of that plateau and moving forward and progressing again. Starting off, I think a big plateau that we tend to hit is the chords that we play. Most guitar players, whenever we're first coming up, we learn our open position chords, C, G, D, A, E, and then we say, okay, well, what's next? And a lot of guitar players will move on and move into bar chords. This is usually one of your first big hurdles. If you haven't gotten over this hurdle, no big deal. Just keep working at it. You will get them. Otherwise, a lot of people get stuck here too. G, D, A, E. So then it kind of becomes, well, now what do I do? And that's usually where a lot of guitar players get stuck. It's a lot of that. And in a lot of popular music, these are pretty much the only chords that people really use until you start diving into a little bit more complex and sophisticated music. And then you start seeing things like, maybe major sevens, minor sevens, dominant sevens. Some of my personal favorites, you should look into them as well. Major nines, minor nines, beautiful jazz chords. I'm a big fan of those. But all of this kind of really goes into the idea of, I know just like a lot of other guitar players, when I was kind of coming up, I had a big chord chart in my room that had just 150 chords on it. And I thought to myself, how am I ever going to learn these chords? And, I started trying to memorize them all. And in doing some research, I realized, I don't need to learn all of these chords. What I need to learn is how to build a chord. It's what we call chord construction theory. And once you kind of dip your toes into those waters, that's when you can start crafting your own chords. Maybe instead of playing a major nine like this, or like this, perhaps I'd want to make one that sounds like this. And that just comes with learning what notes from that particular scale that I need to add to my chord to decide whether it's a major chord or a minor chord, and then what sort of embellishments I want to throw in over the top. So, chord construction theory, that'll get you out of a rut really quickly. A lot of those really pretty chords have that super leading melodic tone. Really helps to drive the melody forward. Coming up next, a lot of guitar players don't learn diatonic chords. Now, diatonic is really just a fancy way of saying what chords are in the key that you're playing. So, for example, when I was first starting out and I was trying to make a song, it was usually just a lot of guesswork. Maybe that'll work, maybe that'll work, and that'll get you pretty far, to be honest with you. But later on down the road, we get kind of stuck in that rut of, I've learned a couple chord patterns that I really like, and that's about all I can do. And then it's just mixing and matching those chords, and hopefully they sound good. Diatonics is basically telling you what chords are in the key that you're playing. So hypothetically speaking, if I'm, say, in C, I know that I can play any assortment of these chords. C is my 1, D minor is my 2, E is my 3, F is 4, G is 5, A minor is my 6, B, half diminished, my 7, and back to C. So any combination of those, if you've ever heard of somebody talking about the Nashville number system, or just the numbered system in general, you see formulas. It's a 1-4-5 in the key of C. It's a 2-6-1-5 in the key of D. That's using these diatonic chords. So as an example, in the key of C, a 1-4-5 is a really common one, and that's going to be a C major, an F major, and a G major. And that's used in songs like La Bamba. Right? You could do a 1-6-4-5, so like a C, A minor, F, and G. Sounds like 1,000 pop songs I know, because it's a really common chord progression. One more you could try as well. It's a 1-6-2-5. So 1 would be a C, my minor 6, A minor, my minor 2, D minor, and a G. If I played them in open position, C, A minor, D minor, really pretty. Learning diatonic chords is fantastic. I could play this in any key, lickety-split. Another thing, we always get stuck with our same scales. This is definitely geared a little more towards some intermediate players. Most of us learn the pentatonic minor scale. In the case of A, everybody learns that one. Some people even learn the major. And these are great scales, but it's definitely stuff that we get stuck in. I probably played those scales back to back to back for the first 2 years of my playing before moving on into something else. But as a result, playing feels stale. I get stuck in that box. I'm sure you've heard of that before, getting stuck in the box. And a really great way to start breaking out of that is getting into more modal progressions. Modes is a really great way to start adding some sophistication to your playing and eliciting some new sounds that you might not be familiar with. So, for example, let's say we did a mixolydian. E major, D major. Right? more spice going on than just a traditional major scale. Or perhaps one of my personal favorites is Dorian, so you could do like an A minor. In this case, it's an A minor 9. Definitely a little more jazzy inspired, kind of that Carlos Santana sort of sound. Just sounds a little more sophisticated than just a straight. So modes. Definitely check out your modes. Poor practice routines. A lot of times we'll sit down to practice and we usually run through the same things we always do. Going back to that minor pentatonic, a lot of times people will say that they practiced, and this is what they do the whole practice. And what winds up happening is this sort of straight up and down pattern comes out in your playing. You don't really have any sort of melody going on with it. It just sounds like practice. Better ways to practice would be, you know, moving through like note groupings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Starting to sound a little more musical. Sounds a little more like a lick. Sounds a little more like we're doing something there. You could do traveling in like fourths. That's always a goofy one. Once again, it's kind of helping you practice musically. These are actually things that you would use whenever you're soloing. So some great options. Speaking of practicing, using your time efficiently. I've always been a really big proponent of working on stuff that you are uncomfortable with and doing that for, 15, 20 minutes. You hear about these guys that practice for 8 hours a day. And I have to admit, when I was in college and learning this kind of stuff, I definitely did that because I thought it would make me a better guitar player. It doesn't. It just shreds your fingers and wears you out, and then you can't play as much the next day. So there's no reason for that. I would say like a really good practice would be maybe 20 minutes or so of the nitty-gritty technique and that kind of stuff. And then for the rest of the time that you want to play, go play something that you enjoy playing. Play songs, play to backing tracks, grab a loop pedal, play to that. Go have fun. If you do the nitty-gritty stuff first, and then you go have fun with it, typically a lot of the stuff that you would just practice might actually start coming out in some of your playing, and then you can really start digesting it and ingraining it in your playing. So, really fantastic option. Finally, get out and play. Guitar is something you really enjoy, so get out there and do it. Find people to play with. Go do an open mic night. I know that's a big ask, but it'll force you to think performatively. Ooh, I made a mistake. You don't stop and start over. You just push through it and carry on. The show must go on, right? These are all really great things for your playing. Playing with other people can give you new ideas. Maybe you guys are focused on the same topic, but two different viewpoints coming from two different directions, two different mindsets is a great way to alter your perspective on the instrument. And having somebody to bounce ideas off of is always fantastic, and both of you will grow exponentially together. Another thing, I really like to do as well is whenever I'm practicing too, is to play in styles that I'm not particularly comfortable with. I'm not super comfortable playing like country licks and bluegrass licks. So that's kind of stuff I tend to try to do. That way I can incorporate it into the playing that I do like. Also, the more versatile of a guitar player I am, the bigger musical vocabulary that I have, the more complete guitar player I am, the better I am, right? You know, if you think about the guitar players that you idolize and that you really enjoy, they play and they play and they play and they play. So if you want to be good at the guitar, you should too. Like I said, you don't have to sit down for 8 hours a day, but when the mood strikes, pick that sucker up for like 5 or 10 minutes. I always like to hang my guitars up or have them on racks where I can see them, because sometimes I'll just walk by and pick it up and blow through really quick, and I'll be like, okay, I got it. And then I throw it down and I continue with whatever I'm doing. And even just little things like that keeps you tactile, keeps it in the forefront of your mind. And lastly, you know, when you do hit those plateaus, play through them. I know that's also a difficult ask, mainly just because it's frustrating. It's about one of the most frustrating things as a guitar player. You get stuck in that rut, and it's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? You know, go find a new song to learn. Go find a new scale to learn. Find something that you haven't done before. And, you know, sometimes you can blow the doors right off of that and just kind of pull through it. So, you know, I really hope you enjoyed this. Hopefully it gives you some ideas to think about. I'll probably be back next week with another live. Definitely stick around in the group. If you know any other guitar players that might be interested in this sort of content, get them in here. I'd love to create a community where we can all talk and share and answer questions and feel like we can ask questions and feel comfortable within our community. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hey, if you guys have any questions, fire them in the comments. Let me know. I'll do my best to answer whatever you guys got for me. And I'll see you next week. It was a pleasure. My name's Ben. I'm with Intermediate Guitar. And look forward to chatting more.